Welcome to Living the Dream podcast. My name is Lev. I'm the co-founder of the Elements Real Estate Group.
My name is Matt. I am the other co-founder of the Elements Real Estate Group. And on this podcast, we're going to talk about everything Mexico, lifestyle, and real estate.
Yes, very exciting. First one. Never thought we'd be doing a podcast. Never thought I'd be living here for this long, but we're actually doing it.
Yeah, we knew we wanted to do something, but we live busy lives, and now we're making the time to share everything we've learned over the years. And let's start off with you. How long have you been in Mexico, Lev?
I've been here for 10 years now. I lived in Montreal, and then after that I lived in Vancouver, both 10 years as well. And in 2013, I got hired by a company down here to do sales for a resort, and I decided, why not? Let's take a leap of faith. I was a little bit not getting at where I wanted to in Canada. I wasn't getting to achieving my goals that I wanted, and I decided to jump on that plane. All my buddies, all of them, said, you're not going to last. You're not going to last. You'll be back in 3 weeks. I was like, no, I'll stay there for a long time. And it's been 10 years.
Wow. 10 years. Holy smokes.
It's a long time.
Yeah. Even reflecting on that, that's got to feel kind of weird. Or like, does Mexico's got to feel like home now, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's home. I mean, I've got a family here now. I've got 2 kids. One of them was born in Canada. One was born here. I've got a house, I've got businesses, I've got bank accounts, like everything that you would do in North America, I do it here now. So it is home. When we go away, when we come back, it feels like home here. So this is our home base. I don't think we'll move from here just because of all the benefits of living here. And my kids speak 2 languages now, Spanish and English. My wife speaks fluent Spanish, I speak fluent Spanish. And we've really immersed ourselves into the Mexican culture, to the Mexican lifestyle, which is what we should talk about on this podcast in future episodes, of course.
In future episodes, yeah. This is episode 1, so just wanted to get to know you a bit better, for everybody watching as well, get to know us, who we are, what we do. I think it's really cool that your kids are going to learn multiple languages, and you are being humble, because I know you know more than just Spanish and English.
Yep.
A little jealous, actually a lot jealous of it, because my Spanish is not that great.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a learning curve.
Working on it. I have a kind of a funny thing as well, because I was in a car with you a few years ago, and you were talking to your mom.
Yep.
Okay, in Russian.
Yep.
Okay. Then I think a client from Montreal or Quebec called and you just switched to French, and I was like, what language? Okay, that's French, right?
Yeah.
And then a lawyer called you about a deal that you were closing, like a beachfront villa or a condo or something, and you were speaking fluent Spanish.
Yeah.
And then you turned to me and said, what do you want to have for lunch?
Yeah.
And I was like, what did I just witness? I needed to be filming this. So I think, how many languages do you speak in total?
I speak 4.5.
4.5.
4.5, yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So Russian, it's my native tongue. I speak French because I lived in Montreal, English because of Canada, and Spanish here. I also understand Ukrainian because it's very similar to Russian. I used to speak Hebrew, but I lost it.
Really?
Yeah, when I was 6 years old, I spoke.
Where were you working on Italian too?
Yeah, our videographer is Italian. We're supposed to start, but we'll get there. It's just like you, it's a learning curve.
Yeah. I speak like 1.10 of a language. Right?
We'll
English and a little tiny bit, un poquito.
We'll get there. So that's my story. I mean, I've been here for 10 years. We've started a pretty great company together the last couple of years. We've got lots of clients. We've got access to, and knowledge to the market. And we help Americans and Canadians purchase down here, live down here, retire, whatever the case may be. Why don't you tell us about where you fit in the puzzle and how you did your transition here?
Sure. So it was 2022, beginning of 2022. It was cold, it was wet. I'm originally born in Ottawa, Ontario, but moved down to the London, Ontario area when I was 5, so basically home. And yeah, I got sick of the cold, the rain, the wet snow, the gray clouds. And my wife and I said, this is like great kind of during COVID, right? And we said, let's go on a beach. And I kept scrolling through like reels and stuff. It was people on the beach and swimming and sunshine, and was looking now going, oh, do I even want to go to work right now?
Yeah.
So I said to my wife, and we had a daughter as well, a young daughter at the time, said, let's just go, let's pull the trigger. Let's go and take a look. And we found Playa del Carmen.
Yep.
So the whole plan was to go for a month or 2 and just get out and enjoy the sunshine and whatnot, right?
And what happened after?
Well, we just kind of were following what was happening in Canada, right? And, obviously love Canada, but there were certain things that were starting to change that I was not a fan of.
Yeah.
I didn't like. I was paying a lot of money in taxes as well. And so that came later on. But I said to myself, let's just extend this, right? Let's just stay. Like, we started to get into routine.
Yeah.
You know, when you go for somewhere for a week on vacation, that's one thing, right? But then you stay for 2 weeks, then you go to a month or 2 months. You start getting that routine. We're going grocery shopping. We're doing this. We're going to the gym. We're enjoying the sunshine. We're doing things that you would do if you lived here. On that extension, our place wasn't available. Again, it was already rented out. So we ended up moving to a different building.
Yep.
And that is where I met this gentleman. Should we tell him the story?
Let's tell him the story.
Okay.
Let's tell him the story.
I had a few cocktails. I was with Nova.
I had a few cocktails as well.
Yeah, and I was trying to get into our building. And you were kind of behind me, and I was clearly fumbling, trying to get in. And you were just kind of standing there, kind of like, maybe this guy needs some help or whatever it might be. And so we started chatting, and he said you were in real estate from Vancouver and doing stuff. And so our card for the building was white. Yeah. It was like a white card, right? Yeah. So you handed me what I thought was the card to get into the building. Turns out it was his business card. And he was working for a brokerage down here. And the whole time I thought he sold real estate, it was back in Canada. But actually it was down here. And
then we went for a cute lunch date the next day.
Yeah.
And we chatted.
And I think there was a couple of Advils involved.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And a beer to take the edge off. But yeah. And then we just kind of set this plan in motion and these goals and what we wanted to achieve. And yeah.
I think genuinely, at first, when I learned you're in real estate here, I wanted to know, we were thinking about buying ourselves.
Sure.
Right?
Like a lot of people.
Like a lot of people, right? You get to a certain point where maybe you have a lifestyle or a business that you're able to, work remotely or work somewhere else for a certain period of time. So I was genuinely interested in like how real estate worked down here, because I saw a couple for sale signs and I'd done some research on YouTube, and it was kind of all over the place.
Yes.
And so that's where we met. Then obviously, being in real estate back home, I wanted to know how the back end worked, and that's what you shared with me. And I think we also hit it off. It was also pretty cool that our wives got connected, and hit it off, and our kids
are the same age. Yeah. So I think basically looking back at your story and my story, I'm sure you get this a lot. A lot of people say, how'd you do it? How is it? That's so crazy. It's like you live somewhere else than Canada. You live somewhere else than the US. And it just goes to show that, yes, it is possible. There's a huge expat community here. I think COVID obviously was a crazy, difficult time for a lot of people, but it also was a time of revelation for a lot of people. A lot of people were able to work remote now and work in other countries, and they never thought that they would be going to those countries, whether it's Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Spain, no matter where it was. And it really opened the door and put Tulum, Playa del Carmen, Cancun under this pedestal almost, where, wow, I could live here and pay all these crazy costs, and cost of life is high, and my car insurance and this and that, or I could live somewhere that's extremely pleasant to live in. The people are great, the food is great, the cost of living is low, and a lot of people started coming here. I think there's a huge exodus or / investment the last 3 to 4 years here. Like, I've never seen anything like it in the last 10 years.
I was just going to ask you, because you've been here since 2013, selling real estate and sales and in the, in that world.
Yeah.
And so what would you say, like, obviously there was a spike, but like from your perspective, like you said a couple of years ago, I think you've never been as busy as you have before.
Yeah.
Now, were there a lot of people coming from the U.S. and Canada? Were they looking to, okay, here's a question. Would they be looking to buy for investment, or were they looking to relocate, or a little bit of in between?
Good. So I would say prior to, 2015, 2014, prior to that, Mexico was more of a second home purchase, where people wanted a place that appreciated, they would rent it out here and there and come with their families to use it. I think after COVID, the real estate market exploded here because of the amount of people that were either A, coming to live here, B, coming to rent here, or C, coming just as tourists. And with this new connectivity throughout the Tulum airport, the Cancun airport, the train, it just made a lot of sense for a lot of people. And that amount of people is why I'm so busy, is why you're so busy, is why our team's extremely busy. Canada, to me, I spent from 1994 to basically 2014, which is about 30 years. I spent 30 years there. And when I was a kid growing up in Canada, it was an amazing country. Like, I loved Canada. I loved playing hockey outside with my friends. I loved that my parents were able to, you know, come as immigrants and start businesses and a restaurant and this. And we had a, you know, great childhood with my brother. And then there was lots of opportunity. There was lots of possibility. And slowly but surely, and I think we're not the only ones to think this or know this, I think a lot of people understand and see that it's going not in the right direction. All of the policies, all of the changes, all of the taxes, carbon tax, whatever the case may be, it's affecting everyday life for people in Canada. And it's becoming harder and harder to invest. It's becoming harder and harder to make money in Canada, whether it's your income, whether it's through investments. So a lot of people are now diverting their funds to Mexico, and it's been great. I can't complain. It's a very safe investment. We'll go through that in another podcast for sure. But that's basically what happened. After COVID, it just
took right off.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? For everybody watching as well, bring us your ideas. Send us your ideas, what you guys want us to talk about, because, you know, 2022 feels like it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't. And for those who don't know, like, I've sold my house back in Canada. My wife and my 3.5-year-old daughter are with us down here, and living the dream.
Living the dream.
It's the name of the podcast. But there's a transition period, because it's not just, okay, where do I buy? Where do I rent? Do I buy something and maybe buy two places, rent one out? There's a lot more that we want to go over in this podcast.
Yes.
Everything from, like, immigration, cost of living, how to get insurance on a car, how to get a driver's license, how to get a car. Like, those are the things that what I kind of thought, oh, this is pretty simple. It's not.
It's not.
It's not simple. Is it possible? Yes, but you just need to have the right
mindset and information. Yeah.
Right information is so important down here, and that's why we wanted to do this podcast, right? We wanted to set a place up where people could come, watch, and be educated.
Yes.
About Mexico, whether you want to be here for a few months of the year, invest here, make amazing, or let's talk about that for a sec.
Oh, right away.
Yeah, I have to jump into it, because when you first showed me at that coffee/beer meeting some of the returns, I didn't believe you.
Yes.
I said, no, I've been a real estate investor in Canada for years and years and years. I've sold multifamily properties. I've sold big buildings that don't have anywhere near those returns. And then you said, well, don't believe me. Believe this software. And why don't you tell me a little bit about the software? Because we don't just sell real estate down here based off emotion. It's actually, there's logic behind it for an investor. So why don't you share us a little
Sure.
bit?
Before I explain that, I just wanted to mention, you touched on a very important point, that there's a lot of information out there, right? And a lot of people base their opinions and their facts based on Facebook posts, YouTube screen reels, or whatever the case may be. The idea behind this podcast is to tell people what actually happens here in reality, what actually is good, what actually is bad. It's not 100% paradise, like how people think. It's, oh my God, it's so amazing. Yes, it is. But there's also some, downfalls to our country too, in Mexico. And it's the same as everywhere. So we are here to bridge that gap of information all over the internet. Who do you believe? Who do you not believe? What do you read? What do you don't read? And make it easy for people, right? That's the idea behind it.
So you're telling everybody here we don't want to have clickbait titles with crazy sayings. Some of the stuff I've seen online, I'm just like, living here now, I'm like, that is not remotely true. And I've taken screenshots and texted and be like, why are people posting this stuff? Where are they getting their information from? Because they're clearly not
My
here.
favorite is the Facebook groups where somebody would ask something super friendly and be like, hey, where can I find this? And then it's just like keyboard stroke of blah, 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 blah. It's like, Jesus, this person is just trying to figure it out. Like, let's help him out.
Call those the keyboard warriors. Oh, they hide behind the screen, make up a bunch of stuff, troll people. And we want to have a place of education.
Yes.
factual education. So we are going to bring facts up here that we've researched. And it's not like we're researching or doing a podcast about another country that we visited a couple times. We're actually living here day to day.
Boots on the ground, as they call it.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. All right. So I'm glad that people understand that, because that's the whole idea, is to help people. People want to buy here. People want to move here. People want to retire here. And we want to be that bridge, that gap that is closed, and help them do it. So one of the things that is very exciting for a lot of these investors is the ROI here. Now, a lot of local agents will tell you all kinds of stuff.
I've seen it. I've heard it.
It's painful sometimes. It's not their fault.
No.
They're just out there to, everything's great. That property's great. This property's great. Everything's great. Well, what about this property? Yeah, that property's great too, right? It's all great. It's super important here to understand what generates high returns and what doesn't. We have a software that we use, I've introduced you to it 2 years ago, that shows us what properties can make and what they have made in real revenue over the last 12 months. The super exciting part about all of this is that the revenues that I showed you and I show clients, whether it was a year ago or 12 months from now, they're still great. But they were all before the new airport that just opened up last month. And that's going to be a game changer. Airports transcend cities. I'll give you a couple of examples. You know, you can buy a 2-bedroom penthouse and it could generate up to $85,000 gross. There's costs, yes. We'll get into those in another episode. But that's incredible. And the purchase price of something like that is around $450,000. So you're making 20% gross returns minus your expenses.
Well, it's unheard of. Like back home, right? Back home.
Yeah.
In my former real estate career, if you will, we used cap rates. And cap rates were basically a return on investment. I also did commercial real estate for years and before getting to more multifamily and residential. So cap rates was one of the key indicators of return on investment for your money. And if a property needed a ton of work, you're 6, 8, 9, 10% cap rate because that property needed a lot of work.
Yes.
Then I took a look in places like Mississauga, Toronto, Ottawa, bigger cities. And some of these properties had like a 2.5% cap rate.
And that was considered good.
And that was like, oh, it's so great. It's millions of dollars and you earn 2% on your money.
Yeah.
It's like, well, let's take a look at this, right? So I think it's really important that if you're coming here from an investor mindset, that you don't just find the coolest project, but who the developer is, what kind of comparables are around that actually make those returns.
Yep.
And it's very, very important. And you can earn great returns, but not every development makes great returns. No, and that's why we're here to educate, is that not every development makes returns that are, crazy numbers. There's a bunch of key factors.
Yes.
And one of them would be amenities.
Yes.
Amenities, square footage, location.
Yes.
The reputation of the developer and what the quality of construction. Those are things that you can't see if you're not down here and know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get into that in another podcast of how we explain to our clients, friends, whoever is buying down here or moving down here, of what's going to make the most amount of money. There are, like you said, key factors. There's about 5 of them that if you check all those boxes, you can't fail. If you do, and this is missing, that's missing, then your property is going to not perform as good as you want it to. So we'll definitely get into that. And it's an exciting time. I think a lot of people still think that they've missed the boat of investing here. They definitely haven't. Year after year for the last, I would say, 35, 40 years, the Cancun airport just breaks records of tourists coming every year. I follow it very closely, as well as the what the government's saying and the mayor and all that stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So I just think that you think you've missed the boat? You haven't. I mean, we're still at the starting point. I mean, you'll miss the boat in 5 years.
Yeah.
You'll miss the boat in 10 years. You'll miss the boat in 15 years. Well, right now, you're still golden. And
kind of right now, we're just touching about almost everything that we want to dive into deeper in further episodes. And there's so much. Actually, one probably important thing to mention is, where do we sell? Because we don't sell all over Mexico. We're in a particular area. Most people watching this will know if they know who we are. But where do we sell?
So now you know this area very well. Yeah. So we are in the Riviera Maya, which is basically from Cancun down to Bacalar. It's a stretch of the peninsula on the water. You've got beautiful cities like Cancun that's been around since the 1960s and 50s. You've got Playa del Carmen, which is where we live. It was kind of the next big city around since the 80s, I would say, 90s. And now we've got Tulum, which is...
It's starting to take off. Like, you know those maps that you've probably seen those reels, right? Where they show like the years, like, 10, 15, 20 years as the city starts growing really fast in a time lapse.
It's nuts.
I saw the one for Playa that you posted, I think yesterday, last night. And I've seen it before, but it just keeps reminding me like, holy smokes. And you take a look. It's now that the government has put that major infrastructure in place, you can tell that they're building the foundation for this to be the spot for tourism in Mexico. And the cool thing is, like direct from London, direct from Toronto, under 4-hour flight. 3.5, 4 hours.
Oh, I know. Direct flights to Tulum. It's crazy. And not to say that Tulum is the best. Each city fits what a client's looking for.
Yeah.
Right? They all have their benefits. They all have their downsides. So... if you're looking to retire and you're looking to kind of have a nice walking distance to everything, you're not looking to go to a rave till 6 in the morning, being, of retirement age, then Playa del Carmen's for you. Because you can walk everywhere within 5 minutes. You're at a grocery store, you're at the beach, you're at the gym. If you're looking for more of a dynamic lifestyle, I would say, to put it in nice words, then definitely Tulum is for you because it's vibrant, it's fresh, it's young, the architecture is incredible. If you're looking for oceanfront, Cancun has towers that are right on the water that are just top notch. 4-bedroom overlooking the ocean, couple of $1 million, which is way less than Miami, which is way less than California, and you get like 4,000 square feet. It's just, like I said, there's something for everyone here. There's not that city's bad, but this one's good, and that city's bad, and this one's good. They're all good in their own way. And that's what I think we should educate people on.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Some people, I think, have that perception of Mexico because they maybe only have done an Airbnb once or twice in a city and maybe came from doing a lot of
all-inclusives. I was just going to say.
All-inclusives, and they have this perception of outside of the resort is scary.
Don't go. Can't wait to get into that podcast.
That'll be, we're gonna have to turn that into a few episodes
at least
3 hours but I should say we'll get into more detail in further episodes, but there would be no way that I'd be down here growing or putting our roots into a place with my daughter and my wife if I did not feel 100% safe and comfortable, and not only that, but also bringing money from investment stuff and investing down here. I see that. I don't think it's more of a 5-10. It's obviously going through a growth spurt, but I think this is going to be a 5, 10, 15, 20 plus year investment. We have so much room to grow, and now European flights are flying into the Tulum
I think Frankfurt's got one coming in, and then there's another one that they just announced. Tokyo's even thinking about getting flights.
It's just a matter of time. We know it's coming.
Nuts.
We know it's coming.
Absolutely nuts. So, it's a lot to unravel. It's our first episode. We're obviously excited to talk about everything.
I know. I just want to talk about everything all at once and do like a 10-hour episode.
Teach everyone about everything. But no, we'll just do it one at a time because these are super important. And I think it's very important to go into detail about every aspect. We're also going to have lots of guests here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk to developers. We're going to talk to legal teams. We're going to talk about financing. We're going to talk about chefs. We're going to talk to everyone.
Tourism,
right?
Yeah.
And it'll be great to get, head of a government in here too.
Okay, we're planting the seed right now.
I don't know.
Maybe somebody...
got some connections and some...
if we could get somebody out here to kind of share the inside scoop of everything, what's coming, I think, and hear right from them, I think would be super important. And this is going to be a lot of fun. And
I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people saying, Les, like, you guys should be drinking tequila while you're doing this.
Well, you know what? I know now, right? The margaritas. Well, most people think, what do most people think we do here?
Yeah. We literally sit on the beach all day long. We clearly do absolutely nothing. And drink margaritas all day.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's what we do.
Yes. Yeah, we work on our tan.
I wish.
I wish. And Yeah. Well, all we do is work on our tan, drink margaritas, sip tequila, and and then we find time to film a podcast.
Yeah,
all in between, right? Because but we have to get back to drinking just margaritas and turning off our phones and living our lives on the beach by living in Mexico.
Agreed. So I think now it's time to say bye to everyone. Thank you for watching our first episode. We may have done a good job, may have not. We're learning, we're starting, but I think it's going to be super beneficial for a lot of people to hear it from an expat point of view of what it's like to live here, what it's like to invest here, what is the truth behind the Facebook posts and the YouTube videos that other people are posting without actually living here and knowing it or coming to visit here.
I couldn't agree more. And the transitioning, if somebody wants to move down here, whether it be for 3 months, 6 months, permanently, just being so fresh in my mind as well, and all the steps involved. We want to talk about that because it's not just about real estate. Obviously, huge opportunities for investors, but
it's also the lifestyle, the life here. What's the life here?
Schools. I'm just listing stuff up, but like schools, immigration, residency. These are things that you can get. Dentists, doctors. These are things that can get lost online. And so having a really trustful contact down here like us to be able to ask those questions and learn from this is what it's all about. So awesome, man. Let's do it.
Love it.
Episode 1 in the books. And before we go as well, please send us your ideas, send us topics we can talk about, and we're gonna put it on the podcast. And I can't wait to have our special guest.
Matt, where can people find us other than this podcast?
So obviously our YouTube channel, we have it on YouTube. We're going to be on Spotify and a bunch of other streaming services for podcasts. And Instagram, our handle is Elements Real Estate MX. And if you want to find us on YouTube, just search Elements Real Estate Group and we'll pop up. Both of our mug shots will be up on the banner there.
Want to go drink tequila?
Yeah, we have to get back to work.
Let's go drink tequila and be on the beach. Okay, buddy. Let's go.
Cheers.